All right, so the plan today is I want to go over Project 2 and look at some of the important points of Project 2 and what you guys turned in. So we'll briefly go over each one that got turned in, but if you want further feedback or if you don't understand why you got the grade you got, then contact me and I'm happy to go over it either by email or an individual Zoom meeting is also can be helpful. Just let me know. All right. Then we're going to start in on Project 3. Project 3, there's no demo for it. I don't have a demo for you, but there is a little extra to talk about in terms of the assignment. There's one assignment, but you can choose between three of which ones you want to do, and we'll go over that. Then we'll look at some examples of each type of assignment, and then the quiz, and then that should be it for today. So I think in theory we should finish in an hour or so. Okay, let's start. And let me make sure I'm sharing the right thing. I'm sure you guys don't need to see Dodger highlights, right? Okay. Hopefully you can see this. Let's see. Let's start this way. So can you guys see this okay? All right. And you can hear me okay. All right. So this is Matt's, and I think it's a good one to start with because it shows a, a lot of volume, like the kind of volume that I'm looking for in this project. And then it also shows uh, maybe a little, possibly a missed chance or two to create volume. One of the things that I was trying to mention in the start was the three wire construction, right? So this one has lots of like looping shapes and sort of twisted wire, and it looks good. The only issue is it doesn't quite get to the idea of the assignment. So this, you can tell that there's a lot of implied volume, right? There's something volumetric about it. And this one, there's not much, the legs and the feet and the tail and the beak. The beak is maybe a little, there's some implied volume in there, but for the most part, it's essentially just volume, right? Kind of the same way in Project One, where the space was filled with mass, like the volume was filled with mass. So these become filled with wire, but it's fine because it looks cool and um, the the project shows understanding of implied volume. So if there's combinations of like implied volume and not implied volume, I don't mind. And this is a good example of that. So, okay, this is even more so, right? Um, I You could probably guess that there's some volume in these little shapes, but if I'm looking at this, this is more volumetric than it is implied volume. But the fortunate thing is that it looks really great, right? So it's a nice item. And so when I'm thinking about grading these, I think about two things, right? Whether you got the assignment, like you kind of understood the assignment, or if you created something cool, right? Like, or that showed time and effort. So this definitely shows like kind of a mastery of the material, and um, it may not show like the complete understanding of implied volume, but there is tiny bits of it. So, we'll go with that. But anyway, that's a cool project. All right. Seems appropriate. So the trouble with doing a pumpkin, especially if you do the lines according to the lines on the pumpkin, jack-o'-lantern, is that size-wise, there's not quite enough lines per square inch. In other words, the lines become kind of sparse and it doesn't show great implied volume. And that's a little bit the case here. So one thing that you could do in a project like this is just to shrink it down so that it's smaller. Like you could do a miniature jack-o'-lantern. And I know I kept telling you guys, oh, make it the size of a football. But in cases where you don't have enough implied volume, then sometimes it's a good idea to make it smaller. There is volume in the stem. There's kind of volume in this thing, whatever those are. And one thing that could have happened here is that if you made the eyeballs, am I able to draw on this? I can never get this right. I don't know. No, it's different now. So if you made the eyeballs sort of 3D, like almost raised lettering, so in other words, you make another triangle below it and then connect it at the corners, then the eyeballs themselves would sort of read as implied volume. I don't know if that makes sense. Okay, and oh, I see. I think that's the mouth. So the mouth could have also been sort of 3D. All right. This is a bear, I think. Um, there is implied volume here. It's very simple, right? So these, I was telling you guys, like, yeah, if you want to just take the exercise and sort of like reconfigure them into your project, that's okay with me. So I don't think this was the sphere from the exercise, but it doesn't look that much different, right? So you could easily use the sphere from your exercise, put it onto your project. But what I would have hoped is that you added a little more detail. Also, there's some chances here um, that, so this is a 2-wire construction. To add volume, you would just add a third wire. 3 wires would sort of give it implied volume all the way around, right? Same with the hands. Legs, so see the difference? Legs have a 3-wire construction, and you can kind of sort of tell, and I know you could tell in person that this would have volume. And so like the feet would just need 1 more wire right here to add to the volume. Okay. All right, so the dagger, okay, this is a good job. So um, generally a dagger or a knife isn't the best topic because they're generally flat, and the handles themselves, unless you enlarge it like Madeline did here, the handles themselves don't offer a lot of volume. But in this case, I forgot what these are called, the hilt. The hilt is nice and volumetric. So there's the volume, right? And even the blade itself has this 4-wire construction that it's hard to tell from the picture, but I think it probably also adds volume, which is good. Just a little, right? And there's volume in the handle, and there's um, volume in the, I think this is called the tailstock or something. All right, so plenty of volume in an object that doesn't really usually have that much volume. So this is good work, and I know that the it was a difficult assignment, but this is kind of the amount of like work that I was sort of expecting in terms of detail and volume, and it's a good project. All right. On ice cream cone. All right. So we briefly, or no, we didn't talk. But on the progress check, I made a note that, like a waffle cone would make a perfect implied volume, right? Because it's a volume, a cone is kind of a volume. And the waffle part would give you plenty of natural contour lines, right? So that's what happened here. These are kind of the squares on a waffle cone, and there's implied volume here, and there's implied volume here. This is the cherry on top. Okay, so one tiny thing that could have happened here is that you could have ran another couple wires that just went kind of down here. Maybe just one wire that sort of like would be like melting ice cream that would come and just go up. So what that would do is it would add another sort of like natural contour line and then give it some kind of an action or movement. So I think this, if you just added one more wire that represented melting ice cream, I think it would add something. But I'll just say that just in terms of understanding the project and listening to what I had to say about contour lines, I think this one's really good. Okay. A flower pot holder. Okay, so this one there could be more volume also. I like the idea of just like a flower pot holder and not having flowers, but is there flowers? There's flowers later. Okay. So I'm a little bit confused. All right, we'll just say that if this is the other thing too is if you guys could get these down to 600 pixels, then we can kind of see the whole thing at one time. Uh, this one, it hits some uh, contour lines. It's okay in doing that, but there's not much else. So I'm not sure. There's a lot of things that are kind of undefined here. And what I would do is if you think about the film that I showed you guys, Masters of Modern Design, think about all the loops and stuff that go to make an implied volume. So in this case, if you're making anything like um, a holder or a basket, I would just start putting wire in here just to make uh, these sort of made up contour lines. So to start with, you could have a wire from here to here, right? From here to here, just around the bottom. And then you could just take wires and sort of weave them back and forth, and I think that would help. All right. Also, even on the stem, right? And I remember telling you guys, if you do a stem like on a flower, you can make it a 3-wire construction, and that adds volume. Okay, I like this bird. So this bird has 3 kind of layers of volume, right? Like the dense volume. This reminds me of the gun that I showed you guys, right? So it has this dense part, and that's perfect because the beak is sort of dense, it's sort of a different material. So that makes perfect sense that it's kind of depicted in this way. And then there's this interior, sort of medium density implied volume. And then there's a sort of exterior outside volume. And then all of it together kind of works. It comes together into a volume and then it sort of splays out. Um, it's a subtle thing, but this little wire that's in the middle of these two spaces almost acts as the third wire, and it gives it a tiny, tiny, like a hint of volume. So that part works. I think on the legs, again, there's kind of a missed opportunity. You can make this a three-wire construction, and the lines look cleaner, and there's a little bit of volume. The feet are fine like this, and this is a good example of what the black wire, how when it works well. It works well for birds' feet and insect feet, that kind of thing. All right, I like that. Okay, Augustine's. So this is the exercise. Exercise came out good, and this is the project over on this side. And there is volume here, and it understands volume. I think if um, what I was trying to say in the progress check was that maybe this needs a lot more detail or just stuff because if you look at the exercise, the project itself isn't much anymore. It's not much more different or difficult than the exercise itself. In other words, it's like two cubes and a pyramid. So, which is fine, but what I was hoping for was more detail, right? So that's a window, that's a good start. But, there could be chimney, there could be a chimney, there could be shingles, there could be if you doubled up on some of these edges, then it would look like molding, right? You could have done a section of bushes around. So there could have been steps going up to the ladder, even though I know it's a tree house. There could have been a tree, a bigger structure that this kind of like set into. So it's a little simplified, but it's nice and it understands what I was getting at, and that is, um, everything here does touch a contour line or something I would imagine could be a contour line, and so that works in terms of getting the project. Okay, and is this the last one? Last one. All right, so this is Marcel's. It's simple, and I is I can't tell if that's black wire or if it's. I guess if I can't tell, it doesn't matter, right? Um, so this is another one that's sort of like simple. It does understand the project. I think um, if I was gonna make a glass with water inside, I think I would have tried to make it flatter. Um, I mean, water can be abstracted, I guess, but I think in this case, and what I would have done is, I think I would have definitely added a straw, like three wires, right? A little loop at the top, a little loop at the bottom. Probably take about 8 minutes to do, and sometimes it's those little details that add things, or like a little, you could have made this like a little umbrella drink. But if I'm looking at this, it does look, it does understand there is volume. The trouble with making something inside is it takes away from the implied volume on the outside. But other than that, Yeah, it's fine. All right. So that is, I'm going to stop the share. Did you guys have any comments or questions on, let's see, Chloe showed up here. Did you guys have any questions or comments on the work? If you have questions and later on, I don't know if you got your grades yet, but if you're like uh, outraged by your grade, nobody's going to be outright. I don't think anybody's going to be outraged. But if you have questions about it or wondering why you didn't get a higher grade, then let me know. So at this point, I think I've described how I grade, right? So I have an idea of what I really think you made, and then I'll give it like a half a point higher. That's how I grade. So generally, nobody has an issue with it, but in some cases, like I'll miss a subtlety, and if a student's like, "Oh no, I was trying to make this minimal," and describes the effort they put into like detail and stuff like that, sometimes I'll re-examine it and go, "Oh yeah, I get it, I understand." That doesn't happen that often because I've seen enough of these. But okay, so that's it for project 2. All right, so project 3 is the paper folding assignment. And the paper folding assignment breaks down into 3 possibilities. So you can do one of the 3. You don't have to do all 3 things. And I'll say that multiple times because somebody not watching or not paying attention is going to ask me like, do I have to do all 3? And I'll say no. You only have to pick one, and it's a choice of you can do a origami, and I'll tell you right now that that's the hardest one, and I'll describe why it's harder. And number 2, you can do a modular project. And a modular project, all of these I'll describe, but a modular project is you're going to make the same shape over and over again in these modules and put them together into a larger composition, right? And the third one is a pop-up. And for years I assigned it as an architectural pop-up, but it doesn't have to be an I think in the syllabus it still says architectural pop-up somewhere, but you can do any kind of pop-up. The thing about the pop-up is it's graded a little differently. All 3 types of projects I grade a little bit different, and there's different things that I look for, and I'll go over those. One thing I want to say going into this project is, for whatever reason, this project is the one that people have I'll just say it, people have tried to cheat on this project and I don't know why it's this project. And I don't know if I can't imagine it being intimidating because first you can kind of pick something that's your own speed. You don't have to pick anything incredibly difficult. Anyway, so I had a student from Citrus that turned in like the first, on the progress check, it was just literally like wads of paper just crumpled up and thrown into the corner. And I didn't know if it was like some sort of protest or whatever. Like I just didn't understand. And then then that person turned it in for the project, like the same picture, right? And then I was like, I don't get it. So I messaged and I was like, that's not gonna, that's not gonna pass, you know? It's interesting, but it's not gonna pass. So, hours later, she sent this like beautiful Japanese paper folded ikebana display, you know? And I was like, wow, that just seems. And then I looked at it like really close, and then I could see just right about here, right about here, there was just the corner of the Instagram logo. And so I was like, oh no. Anyway, so I looked it up, and it was somebody named, or it was the same picture, and it was someone from the Japanese Instagram, which I look at, and so the creator's name was Origami Mama 5050 or something like that, and so I asked the student like, "Are you Origami Mama 5050?" And she's like, "No, that's my friend." And anyway, she was all the way busted. And but then I noticed that at other colleges, it was this project that people were just I don't know, AI examples and just various like stuff. So, um, and eventually I'm going to have to do this with all the projects. Because anyway, so on this project, I want you to, as you're working on it, I want you to like videotape yourself working on it. And um, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be a big production, but my favorite ones are the ones you time lapse for, 10 or 15 minutes, that just take little shots or it's you sped up, just working on your project. And I think I have it as extra credit, but I think I would like you guys to actually do a little time lapse video of yourself working on your project. And um, I'll give you extra credit still, but I would like you to do it. So it's kind of a mandatory, also extra credit that you document yourself working on the project. Okay, okay. So let's take a look at. Oh, actually, let me just type them out. Oh gosh, everything's new. I want to. What is it? I forgot how to do a whiteboard. Oh, there. Okay, whiteboard. And how do I get text up here? Hold on, what? Where's the little thing? You would think I'd know this by now. They changed everything, so hide video, turn on original sound. Okay, I don't get it. Oh, here. God. There we go, Taraoka. All right. So the first thing that you can do is origami. And the second thing you can do is modular project. And the third thing you can do is a pop up. All right. So if you do an origami project, this is what I want you to focus on. So what happens normally with origami, or what doesn't happen, is a lot of times there's not enough enclosed volume, right? So the enclosed volume is essentially, if you think about a balloon, that's a perfectly enclosed volume. It's enclosed all the way around. You know, if you tie the top, it's completely enclosed. So if you think about origami, and I know you guys have all seen a paper crane, right? Like paper crane folded. That's not a a really great example of enclosed volume, because there's little waves like this and nothing really gets enclosed. So if you're going to do an origami, this is why I say it's actually, I have to stop for a second because it's a little bright right now. Hold on one second. Um, just one moment. Okay, a little better. All right, now I've lost my whiteboard again. So one of the things I'll look at when I do the grading here is I'll look and see if there's enclosed volume. Then I'll look and see how much work has been put into it. So I'll look at complexity. So if you just did a paper ball, but that would show enclosed volume, but it wouldn't show a lot of work, right? So I'll show you some examples later. And then craft. So the third most important thing is craftsmanship. So I'll be looking at that, and I'll be looking at, you know, how there's detail. I'll make sure that there's like kind of complete folds, and kind of a composition, right? And there's the first thing that people ask about this is, oh, is it figurative or non-figurative? And in this particular project, remember the first project's non-figurative, second project was figurative. This project is either one. So you can pick if you want to do something non-figurative, that's origami that shows, you know, a complex geometrical form, which happens sometimes. There's templates out there for that. You can do that. If you wanted to do a modular project and it was non-figurative, you could definitely do that. And I think I have an image of a really good one. I might have to post it afterwards because I'm not sure where it is. So when I look at the modular, I look at complexity first. Then I look at craftsmanship. Then I look at enclosed volume. So complexity in the modular project, you can think of them as like pixels, right? So every form that you make, if you do more of them, it increases the resolution. Does that make sense, right? So if you think of it in terms of like, you can do a Minecraft figure, and that's all right. But if you make more and more and more, you'll see that there's a lot more detail and a lot more articulation that you can put in to a form. So if you do a modular project, the enclosed volume is already built in a lot of times. depending on the module that you pick. So that's why I look at that last, because it's almost innate to the project. So I'll look at complexity and then how you put it together. Um, just craftsmanship again. And then enclosed volume is important, but I'll look at the other things first. Okay. For the pop-up, this is very simply like I'll look at craftsmanship first. Craftsmanship and then enclosed volume. This is a little tricky on the pop-up, but I'll explain that too. And then complexity is last on this one because it's a moving project. Complexity isn't as important because it's already kind of a complex movement. It's a compound. It goes from 2D to 3D. So if you get craftsmanship and enclosed volume in there, the complexity, as long as it's done clean, then it's fine with me. All right. So let's take a look at some examples of this. I'm going to stop share because I'm all lost right now. All right. Let me see if I have any just laying around. Okay, well, I'll come back to that. All right, let's look at examples that are on Canvas. And then, so from here, we'll take a look at some examples and then take the quiz, and then that'll be it. Oh, all right. Another thing I have to ask you guys about. Okay, first of all, congrats. We've made it halfway through the semester. And there is I'm not even sure I want to do this. There's a mid-semester survey about the class. You know what? This is Citrus College. Maybe you guys, actually, I think this would be really helpful for me and the class going forward. But if you could fill out the midterm survey and whatever you think that, just go through it, answer the questions. And if you could give me any constructive criticism, like, I don't know, like, didn't get enough feedback or whatever the criticism might be. You don't have to say boring, but if there's something that could make the class better and more helpful, be helpful, right? And if you can fill that out, I'll try to figure out how to get you an extra credit for it. Okay, and it's not, I didn't work it into Canvas that way, but if you go through, let's see, that would identify you though. I don't know. I'll just do this. Just do it if you want, as a favor, and I would appreciate it. How about that? All right. Okay. So let's look at some of the examples on Canvas, and I'm going to share screen again, but let me bring it up this time. Okay. All right, let's go on to project 3. Project examples. Let me even see what I put. Okay, so I'm probably going to add more project examples. So keep an eye on this page because I'm going to update it because I got a lot more. There's a lot more. There's better pop-up examples, I think. Okay, so if you do a pop-up, this is a pop-up that was done, and one of the things that I liked about this pop-up was it was simple but cleanly done, right? Very simple. This is essentially one volume, and the detail came in these little voids. So in a building, if you think about a building in the most objective terms, right, it's just a space, and when you make a window, that's called a void, right? So these are all voids, and there is a rule to how many voids you can put in there. So imagine if you took out so many voids that it was just the little edges, the contour lines, then that's too close to the last project. That would become an implied volume if you have too many voids. So the wire drawings, they're nothing but void. They're mostly voids, right? That kind of look into the space. And so this isn't about contour lines. This is about covering at least 50% of the volume, right, with material. So in this case, if I looked at this, the voids don't make more than 50%, it might be like 30% or something like that, which is fine. And the side, if I'm looking from the side, that doesn't count because if we're looking at this is a singular perspective, and the 3D part of it comes from the enclosed volume itself, if that makes sense. One of the things about the pop-up, I said I grade on complexity last, and that is because if you make something simple like this form, it goes under the minimalism rule, and I think I've mentioned it before, but the minimalism rule is this: if you the more simple it is, right, the more reductive it is, the cleaner and more perfect that it has to be. And it's kind of a design principle at this point. There's always people that are like, that are contrary. There's people that are contrary to everything, but in general, the simpler it is. If you think about a Zen garden, right? Those like the rock gardens in Japan, sometimes there's nothing in there except for one big rock, and the gravel is combed around it. But if you think about it, it has to be perfect. Otherwise, it's going to be like, oh, why is there like the corner of a Doritos bag sitting out of the rock? It can't have any little anomalies, or people will notice. Okay, so same with the pop-up. If it can be simple, I would pay attention to craftsmanship. All right, this is one of my all-time favorites. This was a Citrus student in the face-to-face class, and it's hard to tell, but these are all Post-its. Basically these, and formed into like little singular modules. I forget what that's called. You know that game that you do this number? You guys know what I'm talking about? So there were literally like, I think he said 1,200 that he made. And so that's a 1,200 piece project right here. It doesn't, I don't know if he used all 1200. I haven't counted, but they're all overlapped so that, one might represent, there might be 2 or 3 more cones under each one. And this is beautiful in a lot of ways. So it passes the 50% rule in close, right? There's more than 50% of the space being enclosed, and that's fine. This also creates a really kind of dense texture, and kind of each one of these is an enclosed volume sort of by itself. So this one was pretty much ideal. Like it showed complexity, it's a beautiful form, and it's, uh, you know, understands this idea of enclosed volume. All right, so I put this in here. This is a B, barely. Like this is kind of a B. I mean, it's the grade is kind of a B, and I graded this a B because this is the average sort of minimum in terms of volume and complexity. So remember that you have 3 weeks to do this project, right? And what I sort of have to bring this up, but I noticed that most of you, and then most of the students in the other schools in Project 2, most of you waited until the last weekend, and I could see that, right? For whatever reason, people wait till the last moment on this project as well, and that's why I put an emphasis on the progress check, and I really want you guys to uh, document your progress as much as possible, and basically show me your work is what I'm asking. And on this one, that's okay for 3 weeks, but I would like a little more. It doesn't have to be that intense, but this is kind of seems right for 3 weeks. I don't know. Uh, uh, Still, just as you know, kind of a a piece by itself, it's not bad. I mean, it's pretty good, but I think this would be an average project. Modular swan. So the modules, you can do these little, they're kind of like little triangular forms that attach together. And I like them a lot because it's easy to control. And if you don't mind making the same shape over and over and over and over again, then this kind of module comes up quite a bit. And I don't know if I have it. Um, I have the reason I don't really have a demo is because there's too many possibilities. So what I've done is I've given you a lot of resources to look up, and depending on what project you want to do, but there's information on how to make this kind of modular shape. And this is the pop-up equivalent to the bull, right? That's it's simple, it's well done. It's basically, just barely fits under the 50% rule. Um, and it makes a nice form. So I think I give this one a little higher than a B, like a B plus, maybe. Or maybe I gave it a B. I think I gave it a B plus. I would give this a B plus right now. Those are some examples. Just keep in mind, I'm gonna update this page now that I'm thinking about it. All right. You know what? Since we're on Canvas, let's just go ahead and take the quiz. And I think, oh, one more thing I wanted to say. Where is it? Now, I just went through and said, I want you to document yourself working on these, but what I don't mind is if you're making like a bunch of modular pieces, I absolutely don't mind if you get help, right? So if your roommate is sitting around or your family's, if you can like uh, coerce your brother to like help you do something, then I don't mind, and I actually like it. Like if you sit around with your parents and just make little modules, that's fine with me. I kind of like that. Once the module parts are made, you have to do all of it, right? They can't be touching it at that point. But just in terms of making the modules, I think even this one, when he was sitting in class, there was another person just sort of adding on the same shapes. So the idea is that in the modular project is that you come up with a module that can be connected to each other. Now, I think in the syllabus, the face-to-face, sometimes it gets confused, but the syllabus is sort of, it says that you can't use adhesive or tape, but on the online at home version, you can use glue and tape and whatever you need to stick it together. You don't have to make the modules that just like fit together. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. All right, let's take the quiz. Quizzes? No, quiz. Quiz? Yeah, just one quiz. Wait, which quiz? Quiz project 3. Here it is. Do. Okay. Again, let's go through. So you can just take the quiz right now if you want, or just write down the answers. Someone messed up in the other class and just wrote the answers and then put it in like one of the chats, one of the discussions, and so the answers were out there for everyone. Don't do that. Which of the 3 projects should you do? It's your choice. Any of the 3. All right. Okay, I want you guys to type this one in. Uh, what is an example of an enclosed volume? You tell me. You can just blurt it out. Okay. That's a direct message, but that's also correct. Yeah. Hot air balloon. Right? A pineapple would be a volume with mass, right? Like project 1. Shopping cart would be an implied volume, like project 2. And an enclosed volume, it would be a hot air balloon. Besides no Hello Kitty, that's still a rule. What are there any other weird rules for origami project? I'm sorry, weird rules for the origami project. Yes, no paper cranes. Uh, and then the next question is, can I use paper cranes as modules? And answer is yes, but uh, answer is no. I just changed my mind. No paper cranes. All right. What kind of paper should I use for these projects? Uh, Pretty much any paper. So that's one of the reasons I don't, at the beginning of the semester for your supply list, I don't ask you to get paper because um, if you decide to do an origami project, that's a different kind of paper than the pop-up. Pop-up, you want kind of stiffer paper, right, that holds up a little better. So it's up to you. If you use, oh, one other thing. Oh, wait, I think it's coming up. How are these projects graded? Understanding of enclosed volume, craftsmanship, and complexity. What's an advantage of doing origami over the other projects? It's the easiest of three choices. No. Origami suits a wide variety of personality types. That sounds right. Best results with the least amount of work. No, that's not it. Origami is easy to understand and isn't that complex. No. We know that's true, not true, because somebody sent me an origami of a full samurai holding a sword, and it was totally complex, right? And it took thousands and thousands of folds. First of all, I don't understand how you get origami is one sheet of paper, a square sheet, and no tearing, no cutting, no adding other stuff, no gluing, no taping, right? It's just folds, right? So it's actually, in my opinion, the hardest one. What's the main advantage of choosing the modular paper project over the others? It's easier and thought-free. No. It suits people that don't mind working a repetition. That's true. It can be soothing and stress relieving. Oh, that's also true. All right, here. B and C are the correct answers. So this project, I designed it for the like when we first went into quarantine, and I was thinking about everybody, including myself, at home, sort of freaking out, like stressing, and I don't know about you guys, but people were starting to chew on each other a little bit, you know. So I invented this project, or I adjusted it so that people that are around you could sort of help you with the project in terms of making the modules. And so the idea was so that I was trying to come up with projects that were less stressful or stress relieving. And so it's why the modular paper project exists. What's the main advantage of doing the pop-up project over the other projects? Okay, it's fun for people that like mechanisms and objects that are kinetic, right? Kinetic means movement, right? So you're making an object that goes from 2D flat and then folds out and it creates an an enclosed volume, right? That enclosed volume, uh, there's a professor, I have a colleague at Pasadena that she just does pop-ups for 3D design the whole semester. That's all they do is pop-ups because it's such an appropriate 2D to 3D design project. So that's all they do, and it's kind of interesting. Doesn't work for me that much. I'd rather like get in there and show you how to do stuff. But if you want to do a pop-up, there's a lot of resources available onto you, and I'll show you that. That'll be the last thing I show you. Okay. I can decorate this project unlike project one and project two. That's what I was getting at a little bit earlier, and the answer is true. So you can paint these, you can glitter these, you can put your name on it, you can grow moss on it, you can grow chia, whatever that is, on it. So as long as it's a paper project that has enclosed volume, that's it. I don't care. Okay. Okay. So people that like to paint or draw, this is your chance to add it to your project. Actually, there's two chances. You can do it on the last project too. All right. Can I use tape and glue for the modular paper project? Can I use taping for the modular paper project? Yeah, you can. And I mentioned that before. So there we go. Let me make sure we got this correct. 1 point. Yeah, so that's good. All good. All good. Okay, and let's see. What was I just going to show you? Having a little problem here. Okay, so I'll stop share. I was just gonna show you something else and I just forgot. Oh well. Do you guys have any questions at this point? No? All right. So this week is the checklist. Get through the checklist, right? One of the things that I want you to think about in terms of just sort of working is that it helps um, it helps to get started early, especially the just your original idea. You know, there's I have a couple students in uh, one student at Long Beach and one student at Pasadena, and they both have their degrees in something else already. And I like having them in the class because they've already gone through. One of them went to Chicago, and the other one already had her degree from San Diego State or something. And the thing that was kind of interesting is just the way they went about their business, right? In both examples, they were always the first ones to finish and to get problems out of the way, right? And they were both the first ones to turn in their project. So the thought being that they've gone through so many examples of where they waited till the last minute and screwed it up, and they've learned that to be a successful college student, you have to kind of attack these projects. So this project isn't as bad as the last project. Like, in other words, I should have given you this speech before the last project, but it's still the same example, and I just thought of those two. And so going forward, I would try to get things done in the beginning, and it's a good practice to get into. I'll give you one little example, and that'll be it today. So um, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I used to be, when I was in college, I was a business major, right? And I dropped out of business school. I just, it was just, wasn't, I wasn't in the right place, and I dropped out, and I was gonna quit college altogether. And then my dad was like, "Why don't you just take, we paid for the semester, just take something you want to take for fun, right?" And so I took writing and I took sculpture. And the sculpture class was, I I wouldn't ever say I was a natural, but let's put it this way, it was something I didn't suck at. And so I was like, and I liked the people I was around, and I liked just working on stuff. I liked making stuff with my hands, and then just all of a sudden, school flipped 180 degrees. Like, it wasn't a drag. It wasn't like I was putting stuff off till the last second. I was just doing it because I was into it, and I had a certain mindset. And it's that mindset that sometimes I try to get across, sometimes I try to force it across. But that's the spot where you want to be, where you're just self-motivated because you want to be, right? And I noticed that that's the difference between some students that are just sort of trying to get by. It's a generalization. Some people are that way. but they have a life and work and, family and all kinds of stuff. So I do understand that. But just for you, just kind of like your internal thought, it's a good idea just to have, you know, if you get it into a place of enjoyment. I don't know if that's really hard to actually ask you to do and tell you, but it's that spot where, I just started to enjoy it. I didn't even think about it at school. I would keep track of when I was supposed to turn stuff in, but a lot of times I was way ahead of schedule anyway, just because it was fun. So I know that doing fundamental 3D design projects aren't quite the same, but if you can take like what would be sort of a bland project, and trust me, all these are bland projects that I'm giving you. Um, I understand that. But if you can take that and twist it around into something that's fun for you, that's what I'm getting at, right? Like, um, you know, you're doing you're doing this project, but see if you can make it fun. See if you can incorporate people around you, right, to help you make the modules, or um, just to be around. That's part of this project. And I think, besides the only difference in this project in terms of the other projects is that I'd like you guys to fully document your own work, basically show your work. So think of this as like, a math question and you have to show your work. Okay, so it's kind of the same here. All right. I know that I forgot something and I just can't think of it. So I might just keep an eye on the announcements because I'll post it. And then the examples, I think I'm going to try and add a couple examples. So keep your eye on those as well. And that's it. So the way I help you in these 3 weeks is a lot less tutorial, I guess. Um, if you have questions about what you should do in the beginning, then we can talk about it. But if you have like, I don't, can you make an example of, parabolic, whatever? I I'll just freeze up, like I won't know what to do. So a lot of this. Oh, I remembered. I remembered. Okay, I'll tell you this, and then that's it. So this is like 15 seconds. You are allowed to use templates and YouTube tutorials. Yeah. So templates and like if you find uh, a dragon on YouTube and you want to make it and it's origami or um, it's a modular project, then that's absolutely fine. But what I'll ask you is that you put your own spin on it. So in other words, don't make it exactly like the one on YouTube. Add your own voice, right? Add your own variations to it and make it your own. And excuse me, then it's completely appropriate to add or to do a template. And it's the same with the origami. And it's definitely the same with the modular project. So if you find a template to make modules, like there's template. Okay, I just remembered the other thing. I'm so sorry. All right, back to Canvas, just really quick. Sorry. It's all coming back to me. This is what's wrong with ADD. All right. La, 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 la. So I'm looking. So I'm going to share screen. All right. I'm going to go down to the library, and these book and film recommendations, this whole first section is basically Project 3 resources, right? So you can do origami. The structural packaging will show you how to make different modules, right? That the pop-up is for the pop-up, another pop-up. Folding techniques for designers can go back to the modular thing. So there's that. If you click on the drive in the library, oh, let's see, did I update this? There's plenty of origami books that you can look at. I don't know if you guys have seen this yet. And paper folding books. That's that's where I keep these. Those are the ones that are listed on that page. And then paper folding projects. Oh yeah, there's more projects that you can take a look at. Okay. So then do I need to add them? I'll maybe add some later. Okay, so that's where to go. You just go to the library at the bottom of the home page, and it takes you to those resources. Okay. Okay, that's it. Uh, Keep in touch if you have any questions at all, and if not, then when will I see you? I'll see you again in 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, we'll start project 4, and that will be the last official graded meeting. So we're getting there. This is basically like past the halfway point, and if you have um, the conversation going forward will be if you have any questions on what you need to do in order to make an A, then I'm open to that conversation as well. So if you're between a B and an A, you might be like, "Oh, what do I need to do to get an A?" And I'll say, "Okay, do project 3, but also do an extra credit." Okay? Okay. All right, so I'll see you in a couple weeks and let me know if you have any trouble. Bye. See you. Have a nice day. Thanks, Jess.